Alright, y'all. Bad news for all you hungry Hippowdon heads out there. We took the first loss. Yes, it's okay. All good things must. And you know, I think this is actually pretty good for me because it takes me a step back and lets me reevaluate how I approach matchups. So, initially going into it, here's what my read on the matchup was. First of all, Ghost is very good in this team. Second off, his Hasbro removal is not great. I didn't think he'd bring Default Scizor. And his only spinner is Tatsugiri. So my thoughts going into this are, for one, I don't think he's gonna bring Tatsugiri into Clefable. That was wrong assumption number one. Wrong assumption number two, wasn't gonna bring Scizor with Default. That was wrong assumption number two. Wrong assumption number two didn't really end up mattering at all, but it's still wrong. So, okay. But the initial assumption was correct in that under Webs, his team gets ran over by Decidueye. So that was my plan going into this week. As per balance dictates, you can go over a team and try and outlast them, or you can go under a team and try and hyper offense them down, and that was my approach this week. Going into this week, I thought I could set up Webs and they would stay up, and I would just be able to run through this team. Again with like spikes and so on. So that was my logic for this Decidueye. I said Skitter Smack is to hit Zarude, his only Ghost resist. But other than that, I can just Terra Ghost and let it rip. Game 1, I was Lumberry, mainly for Rotom, because I don't have Grass Staff. So I was like, okay, if I'm in the Rotom matchup, I can Spirit Shackle him and then kill with a Shadow Sneak and just rest up and just shrug off this Will-O-Wisp. That doesn't end up happening. Actually, game 1, I end up losing on the spot because I don't have Spell Tag, and I lose out on an important roll by like 3%. So if the game 1 looks a lot differently if I have Spell Tag. So game 2, I switch to Spell Tag, and then I get statused on Decidueye. So, you know, just not a great look in general, to be frank. Not great in general. But, you know, sometimes these things happen. Again, Kricketune was my game plan going into this week. I thought that Webs would stay up, and if so, they go kind of crazy. Quaquaval, I think, goes pretty hard. My assumption going into this week was that he would bring Water Absorb Gerald, because it walls Quaquaval pretty hard. But if he's Water Absorb, then he's not unaware. Ergo, I was like, I can bring Sword Step, Swords Dance, Triple Axle, and kill pretty much everything, with the exception of like maybe Torterra, and that ends up being a pretty big oversight. The reason I'm Protect is because of this Mirror Herb item here. If he brings out a Torterra in front of my Quaquaval to try and revenge it, or Terra Flip and then kill it, or Shell Smash, go from there, I can Protect in front of it, scout out the Terra, see what type it is, so on, or potentially just get a Mirror Herb boost in front of it. So that was my reason for Protect. Actually, game 1, I end up shitting the bed, even though I do pull off the Mirror Herb because I can't hit Terra Water. So if this was close combat instead, the game also looks a lot better. Life Orb Clef, again, just looks very good in general. It has Ice Beam to hit the main Fairy Resist in Gerald, and it has a pretty nice speed tier, especially under Webs. I actually like the set a lot. Put in a lot of work. Probably the MVP, even though we got 2-0'd. Ogerpon didn't do much here. My main thought was that spikes are really good. That's pretty much it, to be honest with you. Rock coverage isn't especially great, especially combined with grass. In general, its offensive typing isn't the best. It's mainly just here, again, for that utility here. Rowlet is here because it has the potential to outspeed Dragapult and threaten it with Ivy Cudgel, but I mean, mainly here for the utility. And this last slot was mainly so I could set Stealth Rocks and Hippowdon I felt was the best answer to that job. So that was that. It's also a fairly nice answer into Scizor, and potentially into that Tinkaton. So fairly nice answer overall. But getting into the game, one of the biggest answers into my team was this Zarude. Grass Stab is just so good. It ends up being Choice Scarf, which just honestly fucks up my team. As we see, he does bring the Tatsugiri because here I overthink it a little too much. I'm a little too scared of Draco. I should just gone to the Decidueye. But I get up, I sack Webs, and I'm like, I can get up Webs later under Gerald here. But I go to it right here, but he doubles out to Tinkaton, and I'm not able to get Webs back up. And it's just kind of scary because my whole plan is based around Webs. So after they're not able to stick, it's kind of over at that point. And my team already kind of has an inherent grass weakness, especially when it's not built with defense in mind. So this Zarude's just able to come in every time and click moves and absolutely own my entire team. Not great in general. Yep, here we see him going crazy. He finally dies to Clefable, but at what cost? Here I get the boost off. I go hard into Quaquaval. Get the boost off, but again, I can't hit this guy, so I just Water Step him for 51 and die. And then I lose the game. Here's that, yep, 4%. If I have Spell Tag, honestly, if I have Spell Tag, I might win the game here, to be quite frank with you. If I have Spell Tag, I think I'm able to get off an SD and just clean up. But that doesn't happen. Instead, we live in the world where I miss out on this KO. I don't know if it's a roll. If it is a roll and I calc it, it'll make me feel worse. So I'm just going to assume it's not a roll. It'll make me feel better. The game's over, very obviously. And that's that. Going into the next game, I only make a few changes. I add close combat. Webs is mainly a game 1 strategy. It's like a game 1 gambit. So I don't think I'll be able to win out 2 games in a row with Webs. So I exchange it for Darkrai. The reason I didn't initially bring Darkrai is because of Tinkaton. Its usual berry coverage in Sludge Bomb does nothing to Tinkaton, obviously. So the best it's able to do, really to hit it with any damage at all, is to Will-O-Wisp it, which is a big deal. Will-O-Wisping it on the Switch. But I just didn't think it was worth over any of the other slots. So that's the initial reason I dropped it game 1. But going into this game, again, we just see the story of this Zarude. I just have no switch-ins, and kind of brings up a fundamental error. Here's that funny interaction where I get status this game after I drop the Lumberry. I Shadow Sneak here because I'm afraid of Encore. Here comes the Thunder Wave, and now I'm just paralyzed forever. This guy lives. Unlucky. GG. And now it's like I'm just gonna lose to Torterra. This is the reason he brings Tatsugiri, by the way. I didn't think about it, but Terra Fairy with Water Absorb kind of walls the shit out of this thing, at least in the short term. So like, yeah, close combat only does 53, and this thing's dealt with. He actually mementos. I mean, goddamn. And we know this thing is Scarf now, so I just stack this guy. He lives like a beast, but it's still not enough. I'm going to lose the game to Torterra eventually, and if I'm not, then my Clefable is going to be chunked 1,000,000%, and then Dragapult's going to win the game. And it's just kind of over after that, to be quite frank with you. I think the real reason I lose this game is like a fundamental flaw in my team building. Because, to be honest, I think I could very easily go the distance with this. I think if I had to play this matchup again, I would go with a much longer approach. I would bring one of my Grass Resists. I would probably bring a Wish, a Fable set, to try and support them in the long run. And I think, given the chip I could amass, his spinners and even Defog Scizor doesn't have great longevity into it, even just one spike. I think I could have outlasted it and played the long con here. But I instead chose the hyper offense route, and I think that was a bit hasty. I think I got punished pretty hard for it. Very well played to Josh, but there's definitely a lot of changes I can make going forward. After next week, sorry, I do have Registeel for Duraludon, which I think is one of the only improvements I can make in this roster, other than maybe this Milotic slot. But getting frankly, a much more solid Pokemon in for one of the grass resist slots makes me feel a lot better. But we're just gonna have to see how that turns out. That's all about pretty much all I have to say here. Some other considerations here. I think Muck's pretty solid here. T-Spike in general is just really good here. I think playing out like a longer game with Pivot Rotom also could have worked. That's also another grass resist. So either passing wishes to it, or just going the long con with Pain Split could have worked. And then just like maybe a Rapid Spin. Maybe I keep the Mirror, but I go like a Rapid Spin close combat set on Quaquaval. I don't know. There's changes to be made. And frankly, just really. Oh, here's a fun interaction I didn't mention. I'm Terra Bug in 252 attack, because it's to kill Azelf. In case his response to me bringing webs was to bring Azelf and taunt me, I was just gonna Terra Bug turn 1 and Leech Life him, and it kills. It kills like fast Azelf, and I just thought that was fucking hilarious, and I just had to mention that, to be quite honest. But that's about all I have for now. I really liked the Magic card Life Orb Clef. That was very solid. Usually utility Ogerpon feels a lot better. Kind of shit the bed this week. I mean, that's my fault, obviously, but definitely kind of makes me rethink how I feel about what Ogerpon set I should be bringing. And yeah, my main takeaway from this week is that maybe I need to slow it down a little more when it comes to building, is all. A little bit of a shorter one this week. I probably won't do a week 6 vid. If you don't know, I did the prep in 15 minutes. As a fun little challenge, we both did our prep in 15 minutes. And then I played one mock, and then we played the series. And then it lasted for a total of 10 minutes between both games. So I probably won't do a series on that. Ogerpon clicked spikes, and then Darkrai clicked move. That's all you have to know. But gonna be all from me for week 5. Very well played to Josh. Definitely kind of a wake-up call for me, and something to be considered going forward. So yeah, see you next time for week 7.